Good morning. We got Manny Stotz, or is it Stotz?
Stotz. Good morning. Good morning,
Manny Stotz, Executive Chairman of VERB. Pleasure to have you here today. Looking forward to learning more about your company. Oh, you know what? Your name is like covering your chin over there. Maybe just
Okay.
There you go. Work on that posture. All right, let's go. All right. So before we get started, I do want to just look at this chart so people know what we're talking about. So ticker symbol VERB technology. Something happens. We're going to find out what. Look at this stock going from about $10, hit $30, pull back at $18. So something exciting is going on with VERB. I have some of the notes here, but I'm going to pretend like I know nothing and make it more exciting for folks. How about that, Manny? So, Manny, you're the executive chairman. Tell me how long you've been involved with this company and what roles until now.
Well, we announced last week on Monday, so this is really the first interview proper, a $558 million common equity pipe. And that is basically pivoting the business to a TON strategy, which is a digital asset strategy. And I know you probably have seen enough of those, so let me tell you why this is different. TON is a layer 1 blockchain that is developed by and distributed by Telegram. You probably have not heard of TON. You probably have heard of Telegram. And I've been basically involved since in TON for something like 4 years. And
Manny, if you don't mind, I just want to stop you for a second. I like to get a little more context before getting into what the actual company does. I just want a little more context about you and your role in the company, like historically when you got involved. Yeah. What VERB was before this deal, just so we have context before we get into the exciting stuff.
Happy to share. So I'll do it in 30 seconds. So I'm an entrepreneur who happens to be an investor. I built an investment firm from 0 to 5 billion called Kingsway. We're based in London. And we got roughly half of our assets in crypto. I became the biggest investor first in TON coin, which we're going to talk about. And then also have been serving as president of the TON Foundation, which is a protocol foundation. And then we basically decided to create a TON Digital Asset Treasury company. And we've decided to partner with VERB doing this. So VERB is what was an ASX-listed company before, it still is, right? A very, very wonderful team and business. Of course, smaller scale to what we're normally doing. It was roughly a $20 million market cap company. Active in social commerce and in digital, marketing, and so it's a perfect fit actually for what we're doing with Telegram, which is 1 billion monthly active users and the second biggest messaging app in the entire world, and a perfect fit for TON coin, which we're now adopting as our treasury reserve asset.
So is this kind of like a reverse merger in a way?
Well, technically, it's not an RTO. It is a common equity pipe, which is much faster than an RTO. Speed is really important here, Ben. And we did this in a month, right? So this was an idea. Effectively, 6 weeks ago. Now we're basically $1 billion market cap company in Nasdaq from scratch. I mean, of course.
Got it. That's cool. So you raised $558 million, and then is the deal? When does that consummate the deal?
It's already done. Yeah. So we closed in record time. We closed last week. We filed for $1 billion ATM on Friday last week.
Oh wow.
So we're not taking prisoners here. We're quite fast here. This to win a Formula One race, right?
It's already done. So what are we waiting for? Because the ticker symbol is supposed to change to TON. When is that happening?
Yeah, that will happen in due time, right? We're keeping the ticker as VERB for now, but we really want to introduce ourselves for the first time to the U.S. equity market, which is hugely exciting for us and frankly for the U.S. equity market and for the world of crypto.
Okay, so regarding what VERB, the legacy business, is that still going on? Is that material at all?
Yeah, I mean, it's not material. It's saying the market cap of the company. The market cap was 20 million. It's now over $1 billion today.
Okay.
But it's still nonetheless exciting because we can give the original business a big boost through our partnership with TON and Telegram.
Okay. All right. So now we got that context. Let's get into this. Personally, I have never heard of TON until I did some research on it this morning. But I know Telegram, and Telegram's huge. It's kind of like an economy unto itself.
Right.
Why don't we talk now about TON? We know we've been in our community. We've made a ton of money recently on this Ethereum and all these Ethereum treasury companies. Yeah. It's been really hot. We've been all over it, and it's done well for us. So, maybe there's another opportunity with a different crypto here, digital asset strategy, TON. So now let's get into a little more detail before I interrupted you. You were going for that.
No, absolutely, and spot on. We've admiring the Bit9 team, for instance, BMNR. I think that's been the best performing one. I think they delivered something like a 15x in like 45 days, and we're right behind them basically.
Yep, that was the one. That was the one that we really nailed, that BMNR. That was beautiful.
Congrats, right?
Yeah.
And so let me start why this is different and maybe even more compelling, right? Number one, again, you have not heard of TON, you have heard of Telegram. To give you a sense how huge this is, Ben, right? The Telegram is 1 billion monthly active users and the number 2 messaging app in the entire world after WhatsApp. In my humble experience, the first billion is the hardest, right? The plan is 1 billion, 2 billion, 3 billion, maybe 4 billion, right? This is an N of 1 asset run by an N of 1 founder. The founder of Telegram is the only living human being who's not only built an app that 1 billion people use every month, there's 5 or 6 others, but the only one of those who owns 100% of that company, right? And so he is not stopping, right? And so he has decided to keep the company private for the time being, but he has a blockchain called TON. TON was developed by the Telegram team. It is distributed by the Telegram team and natively integrated into the app. So if you, Ben, give me your Telegram handle right now, I can send you live on the show, basically TON coin or US dollar stable coins or any other asset living on the TON blockchain. And it's like Venmo, right? But it's global, right? And that is, I think, going to be the killer app. I mean, Bill Gates is very famous for saying, in the late 90s that content is king, right? And who am I to disagree with Bill Gates in the late 90s? I believe that content is king too, but distribution is the queen. And she's wearing the pants, at least in my household. The point is we've got distribution. And I think, I've got nothing bad to say at all against Ethereum and Solana, right? I'm a huge fan of both of them. I think the question here is more, which will it go to 1 trillion first? But if Ethereum goes to 1 trillion, it's only a 2x from here, right? And it should have happened here by now. And, Solana, so Ethereum is 50 times bigger than TON, right? And Solana is 12 times bigger than TON. TON will end up with, in my judgment, more users than both of them, maybe combined, because we've got Telegram. I mean, Solana's got 15 million active wallets, right? Ethereum maybe 100, 200, but Telegram, is 1 billion, right? And that makes TON special. That's number one. Number two, Ben, TON is not yet available in the US. We're not yet listed on US spot exchanges, at least the largest ones. You know who they are. That's Coinbase, that's Robinhood. On Monday, Coinbase Ventures just announced an investment in TON coin. And, I maybe leave it at that, right? So there's a lot of catalysts coming. We are also just switched on the wallet live in the US. So and so you can literally take out the app and you can demonstrate it if you want. And then we're also not yet listed on the largest spot exchange in South Korea, which is bigger than Coinbase, right? So there's a lot coming, and it's hugely exciting for the TON ecosystem, and we're just getting started.
All right. So okay. You made a mention here about doing something live on the show, so I'm going to take you up on that offer. Actually, I have a Telegram account, but I haven't used it in a long time. Let me see. Open the Telegram app. Go to settings. Okay, hold on a second.
Yeah, we can also do the next one, right? I mean, this is not going anywhere, but I have the offers there. No one should go empty-handed. I'll send you TON coin before the end of the show.
All right. Anyway, I got to figure out how to do this. We'll see if there's time to end the show. I'm going to figure out how to log in. I was trying to do it with the QR code there. All right. So talk to me. I want to talk about revenue, profit, path to profitability. How's that work?
Well, think about this more like Bitmine, BMNR, right? Where it's a balance sheet company first, okay, right? Although there is a P&L and cash flow statement that comes from staking. I'll get to that as well. But, to just, since you mentioned it, right, dissect the Bitmine case study, right? I mean, they've frankly outdone Saylor at being Saylor, right? I mean, so it took Saylor, 5 years to get to 3.5% of the Bitcoin supply, right? Yeah. And it's been amazing, outperforming NVIDIA and the AI boom, right? And he's, of course, the winner in the Bitcoin space, right? And I think that's an important point to make. In my mind, this is a winner takes most game in terms of digital asset treasury companies. And doesn't mean the number two can't perform well. It can, but I think the number two Bitcoin treasury cannot catch up with Strategy and Michael Saylor, right? And in Ethereum, of course, Bitmine is out executing the others, but there is a race, right? But what they've done, they've also partnered with a Nasdaq listed company. And, basically that was S3 eligible for an ATM, same as us. And then they've basically done an ATM in size and bought Ethereum. Ethereum has doubled, great. But, the stock is up 15x because, we can raise capital at a premium to book and grow book value per share by buying more coin at book, right? And I think the underlying, it has more upside here than Ethereum. Again, for all the reasons I already mentioned. Happy to go to double click on that.
So can you, I'm trying to figure out how to, with BMNR, it was easy for us to look up the price of Ethereum. It's like in all the major brokers. I just checked Webull and I can't seem to find ton there. So
not yet.
Okay, so what's the easiest way for us to kind of figure out the price of ton and figure out
the price of ton is roughly $3.50 per coin. It's roughly 60% below its all-time high still, right? And so that would be 2.5x to go back to its all-time high. Ethereum is just reclaimed that, as you probably know. You can look it up on CoinMarketCap.
Is this it?
Yeah, and if you look at maybe the 1 year chart or the sort of something like that.
There you go.
So we were at $8. This goes from 7, and we bottomed in March. I can explain what's happening here. But basically, to zoom out, right? I think number one, Bitcoin has outperformed altcoins for obvious reason that there was an institutional bid in Bitcoin, the ETF, but crucially also the treasury companies led by MicroStrategy, right? And we didn't have that in altcoins, especially until recently, but now we do, and you see what has done already to Ethereum, right? Now, secondly, all the new money that has come into crypto has come from the US, and TON has not been available in the US yet. And our company launched basically, or was reborn effectively on Nasdaq last week, and all these spot exchanges are yet to list TON coin in the US. Right?
Okay, so how can we figure out your net asset value? A lot of these crypto companies, the treasury companies, they trade at a premium to net asset value, like MicroStrategy does, like BMNR does. What's the status of that? Are you trading at a premium now?
We do, but a modest premium. And I think, again, this is all public information. So I'll maybe save you the trouble to go through the filings. But let's say we own, let's call it just under 200 million coins. And you do the math, what that is, right? This has all been disclosed, how much when we put the deal together last week. And so it's sort of, probably back of the envelope 1.5 or so times, which, frankly, BMNR was at the beginning as well, right? And, of course, the premium might sound scary because I don't want to pay a premium, right? But, it's a feature, not a bug, right? Because, if you are in the winner and in TON, there is no second best TON treasury company. There is no race here. Like, we're the only one, the first, the biggest. And even if there are others, which we welcome, by the way, we'll still be, sort of orders of magnitude larger, right? And I think that's really important, right? Because there's massive scale economies in raising capital, especially the cost of the capital. And, we're open for business. And now we're basically going to, follow the BMNR playbook, right? We're going to basically raise capital and buy more coin. And if you do that at a premium, raising the capital and buying the coin at book, we're growing book value per share, right?
Yeah.
And BMNR, I think, grew book value per share by 7 times or so in the first 30, 45 days. And again, we're going to release that periodically as well, like every week or so. And it's frankly not very complicated, of course, especially if you believe in Telegram and the underlying thesis and TON, which I think is the most compelling thesis.
Yeah. So I'd like to talk about that a little more. Maybe you mentioned it, but I'm digesting a ton of your information here. So I'm finally caught up with you. All right.
Great.
I want to dig back into Telegram and the economics of TON and why it has value and the use case of it in the platform. Can you dig into that and maybe in very simple terms, like someone who's never heard of this before?
Understood. No, look, this is very similar to Ethereum and Solana, and I'll try to break it down even simpler than that. Think about Telegram like almost like a digital nation, right, with 1 billion citizens, right? Which is after all, almost as big as the population of China or India, and frankly will be the biggest digital population on the planet potentially, right? I mean, at least the one that has a blockchain, right? And so TON is basically the currency, for lack of a better word. It's as important to Telegram as the US dollar is important to the United States, right? And so it is the ledger that decides who owns what. Of course, who owns TON coin itself, but also who owns dollar stable coins.
What are users doing? Like, I've been in Telegram, and it's like, it's a bunch of channels, and I get some news on it. So
no, it's much more useful.
How does it impact my life? Right, I go in. Maybe what? Let me share my screen for a second, if you don't mind. All right, I did figure out how to log into Telegram desktop, and there's nothing so private here, so it doesn't matter. Right. So,
okay, great, perfect.
All right,
so
let's see.
We have go into the search bar.
Search bar, okay.
And you type in my handle, which of course I'm going to give away now. That is Hyla Komilus, the person who actually named America, and the reason why America is called America.
How do you spell that?
I'll spell that for you. That's HYLA COMY LU. Yeah, that's me. I'm just removing my paid. Normally
All
I
right.
charge people to message me. Just say hi, right? Just say hi.
All right. Hi. There we go.
Okay, there we go. Okay, so now I'm sitting right now actually in Europe, and I'm going to press 3 buttons, right? And I would call this almost Zuckerberg's wet dream, right? And I think this could be $1 trillion idea. Don't take my word for it, right? Consider Zuckerberg, right? At 1.8 trillion, hard to move his needle market cap. He thinks this can. And how did Tencent become Asia's most valuable corporation with $1 trillion peak market cap? Boom, there you go. So you're sitting on the East Coast probably. So now I send you TON, right? And yeah, so you didn't have the wallet yet, you still don't, but now you have 3 clicks and you now it creates the wallet, right? And so again, this will, this is a self-custodial wallet with the seed phrase, so you can put your email address and so forth. But I can send you stable coins, and so that's point 1, right? What are the use cases, right? Peer-to-peer money transfer, whether it's the underlying asset TON or dollars, right? Of course, remittance is $1 trillion market. Payments is a lot bigger. There's $1 trillion of so-called mobile money in the world. This is SMS, not even smartphone, dumb phones. 80% of that sits in Africa, 800 billion. That can go on the blockchain, right? And
but then what are the users doing? This is, it's like Venmo for Telegram? Yeah, like that's the use case?
Venmo is relatively small compared to this, right? Think about just to give you a sense of scale again, Ben, there's, 5 apps in the world which are bigger than Telegram. Let's go through the list and ask the question, which of them are doing crypto, right? You got WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, so far not allowed. And you got 2 Chinese ones, Tencent, WeChat, ByteDance, TikTok, also not allowed. So Telegram is actually the biggest, the number 1 in the world. I'll send you dollars as well. So peer-to-peer money transfer, right? And you have a dollar account in your pocket. Now, for you, that's maybe not that special because you have a dollar account and you have crypto.
Can you buy anything with that in Telegram itself?
Yeah,
like
you can buy Toncoin. You can buy your username. You can actually own it. I own Manny, right? You could own Ben. I mean, Ben will be very expensive these days, right? Theoretically, you could own it.
So you could buy other people's usernames with Toncoin within Telegram.
Yeah, you could buy Elon, right? I mean, Elon will be probably 7 figures these days.
But then this cash, can I withdraw that to my checking account?
Yeah, of course. So basically, there's on-ramp and off-ramp, right? So when you on-ramp in the US, it'll probably something like MoonPay today, where you can buy it on Apple Pay, right? And so not only is it money transfer and in dollars or other currencies, you can of course have all. This is already going to be the biggest crypto wallet in the world, right? They onboarded 100 million users without trying the last 18 months because it's inside the app, right? Look, I love crypto, right? But do I want to have a bunch of seed phrases flying around and have a MetaMask wallet and pay gas fees and bridge to this join? I want to press buttons and expect it to work. The way you and I use the internet. If I use the internet, or my mother, which she does, she doesn't know which protocol is running in the background, right? Is it HTTP? You press buttons and it works, right? And also gaming, right? So you can own your in-game item, your character, you get the in-game currency. So this is, a really, really big deal. And I think the world hasn't really fully understood what's happening here. I'm very excited to share it with you.
It sounds very exciting. I mean, I gotta say, you gave us a lot of information very fast. You talk very fast, so that's great. So honestly, I'm not even sure I pretty much covered it. Let me say, there's comments here. Hold on. If anyone has questions in the, whether you're watching on X or YouTube or whatever, put it in the comments. Love to hear from you. Questions, comments, whatever it is. Okay. But I'm out of questions. I just want to get to know you maybe a little more personally.
Explain how big this could be, right? I mean, I've been an investor. What's the old saying? Never trust a thin chef, right? A fat personal trainer or a poor investment manager, right? Yeah. So I've done well before I got into crypto or I got into TON, right? And I've never seen the stars align in this constellation, right? We've got literally an Elon level founder, he's that good, right? Very hard to find, even harder to get partners, right? With such an he's done it once before, by the way. He built the biggest social network in Europe before. Then he built Telegram. Can he do it again with TON? I think so, right? Now we have such an unfair competitive advantage. If you own the messenger, it's not a fair fight at all, right? And going after, it's a nuclear weapon. Like Ethereum, again, with Solana, they'll do fine. And I'll explain how I think it's going to play out. I think it's going to be like the Mag 7, right? It's not like Apple ate Google's lunch and Google ate Facebook's lunch. Everything got bigger, right? If you believe like I do, whether it's 5 or 7, I can't tell you, but a single-digit number of trillion-dollar protocols. Bitcoin's a 2 trillion, right? And going higher. Ethereum is $500 billion. Should be there by now, right? But it's only a 2x, right, to get to $1 trillion. Solana, maybe gets there first. That would be closer to a 10x. But TON is embryonic. 50 times smaller than Ethereum and 12 times smaller than Solana. So if you believe, like I do, that TON is in that $1 trillion club eventually, right? And look, and it might take 5 years or whatever, right? Like who the hell knows, right? But then this is the one to rule them all, right? And it's kind of hiding in plain sight because of the fact that we are distributed via Telegram, the fact that we're not in the US yet, right? And $1 trillion, it's a $200 coin, right? We just we own like over 200 million coins, so you can do the math, right? And I can go further, right? What we have an advantage of, over at least the Bitcoin companies, it's similar to Ethereum. We can stake, right? This is basically not only a balance sheet, hopefully with a multiple, but a P&L and cash flow statement, hopefully with a multiple, double that, right? And then not only will we stake, of course, our own coins and end up owning our own staking infrastructure, we can also get all the other TON holders, that's Sequoia, Benchmark, Ribbit, and the biggest back of Elon actually in as well, of course, my original firm. And then we can have keep those coins in our own custody and let the sort of staking yield, the gross to net, accrue in the Listco, right? And then maybe look, and I can't promise this, but think about stablecoin, right? I mean, this is of course trading well in the US equity market with Circle, right? And let's just say it's been discussed, right? Now this is Manny math, right? So take this with a grain of salt, but hear me out. $1,000 in your checking account, right? Even for the average Telegram user, keep in mind that rich people like you and me, there's poor people in Africa on it, right? If the average Telegram user has an average $1,000 in its in the stable coin, 1 billion people times 1,000 is $1 trillion AUM business. And even at a 3% net interest margin, that would be 30 billion of cash flow a year. Now, even if you pay half of that to Telegram, what you would, right? Coinbase Circle, right? That's $15 billion of cash flow a year. So the founder of Telegram thinks we have maybe $100 billion company to build. Maybe there's a $300 billion company to build. We are with 1 billion, right? So I'll stop here.
Okay. We have a question from the audience here. Can this be added to other platforms? Will it have an API?
Of course, yeah. So this TON is called the Open Network, which is what TON stands for, right? So of course, Telegram is a centralized company effectively, but it's also open. Of course, it's been accused of being too open at times, right? And of course, doesn't pursue censorship the way that Facebook or other platforms are doing it. And in the custodial wallet, you can buy Bitcoin, you can buy Solana, you can buy Ethereum, and we are cooperating with all of these, right? Effectively, right? But of course, in the TON wallet, which is a self-custodial wallet, only TON-based assets can live there. But of course, that's not only TON, that's stablecoins on TON, that's all the relevant NFTs. Telegram gifts are huge. So Snoop Dogg has basically sold Telegram gifts, and Telegram is the biggest sort of monetization surface that's sort of under-monetized. And it's frankly the biggest free speech platform in the world. It's like 50% bigger than X, right? And so video streaming is coming there as well. So hopefully we can do this next live stream on Telegram as well.
Cool.
And so my point is I almost think of Telegram like if this is Balaji Srinivasan, who wrote the network state, right?
Hold on, Rhett just popped in. Continue what you're saying, but
hey Manny, how's it going? So quick question. So I'm here in the United States, so especially my generation nowadays, I'm a younger man. Where can we go in and buy this stuff in the United States today?
Well, you have to be a little bit patient to get it on the major platforms like Coinbase and Robinhood. You can also not get it yet on Gemini, but let's just say we're working on all that. Right now, you can buy it in the app, and you will have to buy it via MoonPay. But that works with credit cards, so Apple Pay as well. You can buy it at blockchain.com. You can buy it at Kraken. Not in all states. In New York State, that wouldn't work. But you just have to be. And my point is there is a little bit more effort than buying Bitcoin or Ethereum today. But that means the early bird catches the worm, right?
Exactly. Makes sense.
Yeah.
But by the way, big thanks to everyone who's reposting this. Our audience size has tripled during the show, which is people must like what you're saying. I don't think we've ever had this type of audience growth during the live interview. We usually build up the audience before the show, but this is growing like wildfire right now. So looks like people are interested in what you have to say. So Rhett's more of a crypto expert than me. That's why I asked him to jump on over here. So he may have some additional questions for you. In the meantime, another question just came in through the chat. Is there gas fees?
There is, yeah. But what's important to understand is that this is a later generation blockchain. You can argue Solana is also later generation than Ethereum, right? And Solana has proven to be, super fast, right? Which is sort of the killer app for Solana. They're, dominating in meme coin trading or high frequency, right? And, TON is also very fast, not quite as fast as Solana, but, maybe not necessarily noticeably. For high frequency, it will be noticeably slower. but it's been designed for scalability, right? Hundreds of millions of users on chain simultaneously because of Telegram. That's the requirement. Plus, also a world of AI agents on chain. And I think we're ending up in a world where we'll have not only hundreds of millions of users on chain, but more AI agents and humans. And scalability, I think, will win the day here, right? Their gas fees are there, but they're very. I mean, you can send what I just sent you like for a nickel across the world at the speed of light, basically already.
Awesome. Manny, some housekeeping I forgot to do at the very beginning. Where is this business located, VERB, physically, and where are you located?
Yeah, we're so VERB is a Nevada corporation, of course, listed on NASDAQ, and the management team is spread between the West and East Coast. So I'm based in London, but of course, frequently traveling to the US. Yeah.
Okay, and what's the
program is a global. It's not, this is again not only US, right? And keep in mind, right, 95% of the global population lives outside the United States. United States. Right?
And in terms of the size of the company, employees, with that legacy, I mean, what's the point of continuing to have that legacy business? Is it profitable? What's the plans for that?
Yeah, I mean, it's not quite profitable, but will be now profitable with the staking rewards. Staking rewards here are somewhere between 4 to 5%. You can do the math. If our treasury is like, I don't know, $700 million, 4% will be what, close to $30 million, right? So we had cash burn probably of 100K, like in sort of not even 7 figures a year. But this will be all dwarfed now. Like, what's the point? Look, I mean, we love the team. They've been terrific partners. They've, given us basically the springboard almost to do this TON strategy. And there's exciting opportunities there. But of course, equally, I don't want to talk too much about the legacy business, given it's like, a fraction of a fraction these days of the value of the stock, right? And so that's really going to be not only, the TON performance itself, MicroStrategy, 35x in a world where Bitcoin was 10x. So 1/3 of the return came from the spot underlying performance, but 2/3 actually came from the capital allocation, which is my job. And that's really what I want to focus on.
Manny, what type of operations or staff do you need to do the treasury strategy?
Very few. It's almost like building an asset management business. I've built a multi-billion-dollar asset management business from scratch. So, we have basically a SWAT team of like a handful of people who are, really, really strong. I'm effectively the executive chairman, right? So I make the big capital allocation decisions and also the capital raising decisions. We got a very strong CEO and CFO pair, Veronica and Sarah. We've kind of decided it needs one leader, right? I mean, ultimately, Michael Saylor is executive chairman of MicroStrategy. Tom Lee is the executive chairman of BitMine. So I'm the executive chairman of VERB, right?
Got it.
And I think, yeah. And but the one thing I would say is, I don't think there will be one ecosystem that will have as big of an impact from the treasury strategy phenomenon, right? We already own more TON coin as a percentage of the whole supply than Michael Saylor owns of Bitcoin. BitMine, big, hairy, audacious goal, 5% of the total Ethereum supply. Like, we'll get there first. It's
in terms of catalysts that are coming up, we have the ticker symbol change, which I think will be nice. But what's the you should expect of additional purchases of TON? How often are you going to PR those right away? In terms of capital that you're raising, is that just going to be from the ATM to do those? Give us some idea of because
sure,
I love catalysts and what we
so do I.
Yeah, I mean, that really keeps the momentum going for a stock. And BMNR has done a great job of that and being very transparent and quickly reporting everything they're doing. So what's your philosophy on that, and what can we expect in the coming months?
Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, right? I think we're going to shamelessly, copy the best of the BMNR playbook, right? I think they're best in class in PR. We're just starting. This is part of it, right? Actually, the PR, right? I've never done like sort of big TV before, and I've now chosen to reluctantly give up some of my well-earned privacy for the greater good, right? So there's going to be like 10 to 15 appearances in the next 2 weeks, right? And we're of course going to really build the biggest megaphone for TON coin. So that's number one. We're in the market with the ATM, right? So
10
we
to
can
15 TV appearances,
TV podcasts, like you just check out.
Yeah. All right, you're getting on CNBC. Can we do that?
Yeah, so that's coming. We're looking at Squawk Box. Like, I mean, like this is like flooding the zone.
I mean, it's pretty big. A Telegram. Everyone should be interested in Telegram. You can get anywhere.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
And you've only got one first impression in life, right? And so I think we all need to get this right. Transparency breeds trust. Absolutely, we will report, our open market purchases. As frequently as BMNR does. We'll have a very strong website there. We don't have an investor day. I'm available. You have me on Telegram, right? I'll have my own channel where I can post everything. The founder also has thrown his weight behind us. He's pretty serious guy. So that's kind of the first catalyst, right? Just the first impression. No one's ever heard of this, right, yet. Like literally, and that's going to change pretty quickly, right? So that's one, right? And then again, you can sort of try to do the math here, but you saw TON was at 820, 18 months ago, and now it's at 350, right? While Ethereum has already reclaimed the all-time high. Let's say that's the next pit stop, right? And so how are we going to get there? Again, I think it's just supply demand eventually, right? And of course we're one part of this, but there's also again catalysts coming in the listings of the U.S. stock exchange crypto exchanges, right? And the Korean ones for that matter, right? And we're going to do a global push focused actually on U.S. but also Asia Pacific, especially Korea.
Awesome.
And then I can keep going, right? But we have just an unfair advantage, I would say, given we have a messenger with 1 billion users that no one else does. So
that's awesome. Sounds great. Beautiful interview. I mean, our audience surged to 1,800 people here, like more than triple, maybe quadrupled while we were interviewing you. So very interesting story. Glad we took the time to speak with you. And we are going to when Manny will join us on my stream. All right. Anyway, all right. We will keep tabs.
Volunteer. Like this is
we'll make the connections if there's other. Looks like there's other influencers watching us.
Stockholder. This is capitalism. Greed is good, right? This is like this is not also like the Ethereum Foundation became quite sort of kumbaya. Like this is different. Like
all right, sounds great. We'll definitely keep everyone posted on your progress. Thank you so much, Manny.
Ben, pleasure so mine. Thanks for having me on. All the best.
Right,
Happy Friday.
Thank you. Bye bye.